We're all present and accounted for here, and for the benefit of those in the audience and the listening and viewing pleasure. We have Councillor Gore attending via Zoom remotely today. So he is here, and so we're at full support of council here today. Good afternoon and welcome to the July 7th regular meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. First, we have our consent agenda regarding the minutes of the consent meeting or council meeting held June 16, 2025, and approval of the council meeting agenda. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any errors or omissions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Carries. We have one delegation today. We have a zoning amendment application at 386 Hirst Avenue West. The applicant is registered as 0932024 BC Limited. Presentation by D. Lemereau regarding the zoning amendment application at 386 Hirst Avenue West. Mr. Lemereau, are you here? Yeah, please, if you could come up to the it's not a podium anymore, it's just a desk with a microphone on top of it. Okay, thank you. I see there's another seat coming for your partner here. Yeah, good. So to speak into the microphone, if you would please direct it towards yourself and then the button on the on your left. If you push it, where are you on? There you are. Give us a test one.
Test.
Thank you.
We are. Good afternoon.
I'm
Dustin Lamoureux. I'm a local businessman, born and raised in an IMO developer that has focused on the missing middle space here on the island. So thank you very much for considering this application at 386 Hirst. I acquired this property a number of years ago, noticing an opportunity to significantly improve the property. The house, when acquired, was in a very dilapidated state and was a frequent area of crime and squatters and considerable issues. So with great care, we've optimally designed this building in order to provide the most community benefit while maintaining the viability of the project. We've amassed a team of professionals. Atar here to my right is the lead architect with AR Architecture, and as well as with contributions from J.E. Anderson on civil, Luke Witch Engineering on geotechnical, Bunt and Associates on traffic studies, parking studies, etc., and many others who have contributed. So I will pass it over to Atar, who will lead the presentation on the actual features of the building.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome,
Good afternoon. I'm Ato, the architect, collaborating closely with Dustin, the owner here. We're excited to share this interesting project and share the vision of the project, hoping to achieve a mutual support to bring this project to light. I'm following my slides in here too, so I can follow up what's going on the screen as well. So how can I control the from here?
Is that work from there, Amanda? Yes, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the property is a vacant lot, a corner lot located at intersection of Hirst Avenue and Molliet Street, and situated neighboring low-density residential to the east and south of the lot. The property has a unique feature, and it's located within close proximity with the common essential amenities and convenient to stores connected through a proper transit routes. This diagram, as you can see here or follow, shows an interval of 5 minutes walking distance, starting with 10 minutes radius to every to more extended list can be shown to the amenity and services close by to the property. This convenience, I guess we believe it's makes it an excellent opportunity to provide a convenient living structure most likely to a new couple or individuals working in central Parksville, or even college students or workers. This project will, in our belief, will promote a desirable place to live, perhaps create a healthy sense of community and promote positive neighborhood and nice promenade. Next slide, please. Okay, thanks. And to align with the project's vision with Parksville, future vision as well, and OCP, the proposed development is a 4-story compact residential building consistent with the OCP designation and framework, which encourages 4-story or high-density multi-residential up to 4-story building, contributing to the housing initiative as well. And this framework is supported by existing property evaluation and also geotechnical assessment and potential landscape treatment, and legal survey indicating the topography of the site and existing site services as well. We expect to provide the community benefit, offering housing options currently in short supply, with aligning with the OCP and general land use policies. We believe the rezoning will facilitate those framework and establish an urban development that aims to enhance the value of the area through the introduction of a high-density residential use while addressing the steady growth in housing in Parksville community. So here's a bit of nitty-gritty of site configuration and lots of thoughts that been gone through it and opportunities that we identified and effectively addressed. This is a site plan showing a detail of the building footprint. It's lifted over surface parking, showing the driveways and common areas and amenities. The site offers convenient vehicle access and exit points, supporting one-way traffic flow either way, with a primary pedestrian entrance located on Hirst Avenue. The majority of the parking stalls are positioned underneath of the project within the limit of the building boundary. In addition to that, like we offered sufficient number of electric bike charge, which can be determined later in later stages of the project. We also provided handicap accessible stall conveniently located to the building entrance. The project also features ground level seating areas and usable outdoor recreation spaces for residents to enjoy, as well secure, convenient bike storage as well. And there's a bus route operates along the Hirst Avenue and Molliet with designated bus stop. The location of the bus stop might not be perfectly accurate here. However, that makes a perfectly suitable living option for a resident who does not have or own a vehicle. The request for reducing the building setback that highlighted in dashed line from the sidewalk or from the property line has been addressed through implementation of comprehensive landscape design that provides sufficient buffer between the sidewalk and the building, creating an adequate buffer between the parking area and the edge of the property line. This will enhance through landscape design prepared by kinship design, aligning with the objective of the required building setback. And this is the landscape schematic proposal shown on this slide that was prepared by kinship design landscape architect. showing appropriate elements, screening and enhancing the appearance of the development as we mentioned in previous slide as well. On the left side of the slide, we always keep a note of how we achieve some of those goals and framework that aligns with the official community plan as well. And this is also more in-depth exploration or examining across sections that illustrate the level of landscape and differentiating different level of landscape treatment and selection of plants as well. And here's the typical floor plan that above incorporates a single exit stair to enhance both affordability and flexibility of the shaping of the building as well. And this reflects the recent amendment of to the BC Building Code and aligns with the provincial government's initiative to address the feasibility and associated with the developing compact lot similar to this size. This allowed us to provide a decent quality size of a unit, more variation, and also more variation of unit types as well. A very conceptual massing of the building, emphasizing the general size of the building, looking from Hirst Avenue to the main entrance of the building. And this is another perspective of the forum from the corner of the intersection of Hirst Avenue and Moliette. Another shot from where the vehicle entrance at the southwest of the property, adjacent to the neighboring residential lot. And another bird's eye view of the project. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you very much for your presentation. I recognize that this is conceptual at this stage, but it does show the massing anyways. It's amazing what you can fit on a lot, because I remember that house, you know, being there for rather decrepit for some time anyways. It's amazing what you can fit into that lot, even with parking underneath it too. So well done. Thanks. Thank you. Council, comments or questions for the delegation as we have today? Councillor Gore, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, through the mayor to the proponent. My question to you, sir, is about the multi-unit designation that you mentioned in the OCP, and the surrounding zones that we have in this property, near this property. So as you see, most of the lots are RS1. Or RS2, RS3, that allows for some townhouses or duplexes, fourplexes to be built. The reason I bring it up is, as you probably have seen in Parksville, we have a lot of apartments. So I was hoping to see something along those lines of some townhomes or some fourplexes, duplexes and whatnot, considering the size of this lot. And since we have this zones where there are single family homes, and we also have these apartment buildings, 4-story buildings. What I usually hear from the public or the neighbors is that their privacy has been negatively impacted by these high-rise developments in their neighborhood. So the setbacks also will be reduced with this zone compared to the other zones, from 6 meters to, let's say, 4.5, what you're asking for. So I'm just curious, like, have you looked at that option instead, which would, in my opinion, fit better with the neighborhood rather than going for a 4-story apartment building, which we have quite lots in Parksville?
Yeah, thanks for your question there, Councillor. Yeah, the short answer of it is yes, certainly we have considered it, and put a great deal of time and thought into sort of proforming out every which scenario as to what would be optimal. So you're absolutely right. The immediate surroundings in its current state, because well, being RS1s, RS2s, et cetera, That's mostly a reflection of the fact that the OCP was more recently updated, and now these properties are sort of in the midst of changing over. I could speak to the neighbors directly, as well as the handful that as you go down Hirst Avenue, I guess that would be south, down Hirst Avenue, who all have plans to develop multifamily. My immediate neighbor is currently listed with Colliers as a multifamily development site, although it is currently single family. I do believe that perhaps based on those immediate surroundings, this would be the first to market utilizing the new OCP designation, but I do think it really does align better with OCP, which was obviously very well thought out and projected this area as a high transit, with the need for more housing. So we definitely thought about that. We did also mock up a variety of different townhouse concepts. It was difficult to get much by the way of housing, and certainly took a hit to the overall viability of the project. And it wasn't something that we were prepared to actually see through from a development perspective, if that were the case.
Thank you. Okay, question from Councillor Grens. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to our delegation for coming today for your presentation. With regard to the height, you are definitely correct that that area is looking to transition to multifamily. There are a number of multifamily units already on that street. They are all 3 stories currently, and this one's looking to be 4. Can you speak maybe to the height difference between this and the sort of neighboring places? Because I noticed there's also like the top floor looks like it's higher than sort of conventional ceiling height. Is that correct?
Is it? Well, I'll ask Qatar about the height. I don't believe so, but for the most part, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. It is effectively 3 stories of living, and it's a matter of meeting the parking requirements that is a need for that 4th story, which again, I'll emphasize is certainly supported in the OCP, whereas the majority of those apartment buildings were many of them of the 1970s ilk, the last sort of boom of apartment building construction when the OCP would have called for 3-story at that time. So given a lot of changes of conditions, mostly being that underground parking has become virtually unfeasible, say for those very large scale projects, just economically, that to fit parking, the buildings that are viable and you see actually coming to fruition, not just conceptually, but actually being built out, either have extreme parking variances or surface level parking. And, it would need to essentially be one or the other. Obviously, from a end user standpoint, having the surface level parking is a lot more, I think, desirable from the living, be it renters or owners. As for, we did take some care to ensure that it was step back and the top floors to take some steps back to avoid shadowing. Also recognizing that we think the inevitable end result of the neighboring properties will eventually be multifamily of a similar variety. So I don't think it would be continue to stand out to the same degree that it may right off the outset. But yeah, again, most of it is following what the OCP would support and trying to stay in the spirit of that. Can you speak? Did we go a higher ceiling on the upper floor?
I guess, regarding the height, we can do a lot of mitigation to avoid, overlooking into the neighboring site. I guess the requirement of insulation and building envelope and energy perspective requires a lot of, not specifically height variation, but a lot of like assembly requirements that we try to be conservative on that side. But absolutely, we can look into if there's any mitigation we need to be addressed through like a detailed design of the project to allow more privacy to the neighboring site.
Thank you. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to our delegation, thank you. And by the way, at any time, these are very movable. So especially our dear architect friend there, I have a little bit of difficulty sometimes following everything you said. So do feel free to shift them around. But a couple of comments and a question. One, echoing Councillor Gore's comments at the beginning. I would certainly love to see a little more in the way of, townhouse style development, but I also do appreciate that there's limitations with the size of this lot. But overall, I would like to see something in town that's doesn't scream apartment building over and over and over again. That being said, I appreciate and understanding from the mayor's comments. This is a concept design only, and I understand that things can change a fair bit when they move along, but the attention to some roof line variation, I do think, I recognize that there has been a bit of an effort here to make it look a little bit more like a townhouse feel than your conventional block of, apartment buildings. At the beginning, you mentioned that you focus on missing middle type. So is that referring to the fact that it's a smaller unit, that it's 12 in all? Is that the case? Is that what makes it middle as opposed to something else?
Thanks for your question. Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I guess technically I don't know where the fine line of missing middle definition. I think it's utilized for a variety of sources, but I would personally take it to mean sort of the smaller scale mom and pop style development, take advantage of some of the smaller infill lots, not requiring acreages to build, the apartment buildings of the 70, 80, 90, and more of the ones that we're hearing more and more are becoming less desirable from an end user. Even the house plexes, for example, just from anecdotally anyway, we find that the end users find them to be substantially more desirable, a little more privacy, a little less massing and density all in one particular area. So I would say that this would fall into that realm, and it's something that we like to focus on, again, rather than the larger scale acreage 100-unit type buildings. We do find them to be less imposing. They fit more into the current landscape and roadways, et cetera, without requiring major infrastructure or anything of that regard, and it just sort of follows existing routes. So yeah, to me anyway, I would consider it in that missing middle realm, but by definition, I'm not entirely sure.
Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that. And I can appreciate all those comments. And also, I would think that having a smaller number of units in a building might lend itself more of a community feel and make it easier for tenants to get to know one another as well, which I think is desirable. You mentioned that there's a bus stop currently right near the building, and I wonder if, if in fact this goes forward, you might be opening to improving the amenities of bus stops is something that we have been looking at. So if this was a suitable location for instance, a bus shelter along Molliet, or is it Molliet or McMillan? Molliet, if that might be one of the amenities that you might be looking at. I just throw that out there. Thank you. Thanks
for your feedback. It's definitely something we'd put in the realm of consideration. I see no reason why we'd particularly be opposed to that. An amenity contribution directly on the edge of this project would benefit the project as well as the city. So yeah, absolutely something we can consider and take recommendations on.
Thank you. Councillor Fries, go ahead.
Thank you. And through the mayor to our delegation, definitely the bus shelter, I think, is a great point, because often they're limited by the land that is on the adjoining property to put in things like a covered shelter thing. So that would be great to see if there was some willingness to improve the bus shelters there. I also think with these kind of projects, we often hear that parking is a limitation, like you mentioned, about having to meet the parking requirements. And I think these are often good opportunities too for car share programs. If you to partner with things like Moto car share perhaps, and have it be a location where a car lives, and maybe for tenants there, a membership comes with their rent there as well, so that they perhaps don't need to own a car. You mentioned about the walkability being close to town, but for those times when they do need to go to Nanaimo or go to the pool or something like that and can't meet the bus schedule, having access to a car, one vehicle shared amongst a few units could make it a lot more desirable to perhaps even reduce parking requirements for things like this. So I just maybe put out there as a suggestion, if there's something the city needs to do on our end to involve more of those car share programs, I think it would be appropriate for us to be looking at as well. But so I just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks for your feedback. So we did look at this at great length, and have worked, very closely with the staff at the city as well to discuss this. And Atar particularly and Kyle have had some long conversations. We brought in our traffic and parking consultant as well to review. The general tone is yes, that we received mostly from the city is that yes, car share is great, but not in lieu of actual parking on a 1-to-1 or greater basis per unit is certainly preferred. They're not quite there, whereas you may see some denser municipalities, willing to go down to say a half parking ratio, but provide those car shares. There's just not enough of a case study to show the uptake on this now for the city to have wanted to support cutting down parking stalls in lieu of providing car shares. Certainly something we're open to. I do question the desirability comparatively. Like I do think as much as, theoretically would want to move to a much more car-free environment, I do think the actual uptake of owners and or tenants would be, would prefer to have at the very least a 1-to-1 parking. And yeah, it would really obviously have to be one or the other. So in this particular case, we've addressed the parking, I think, very well, just because of the benefit of being a corner lot. It's to your comments earlier of that it is quite a substantial building for the size of the lot. I think really that is allowed because of the frontage on both sides. And we've got this nice one-way flow of parking where it's not going to become quite the issue of people coming, going, and potentially, jockeying for the same space on their ins and outs. It should have a much more sort of flow. So, we're pretty pleased with the design of the parkade up to this point. All that being said, nothing's a closed door. We're certainly open to suggestions. And if, in fact, the preference were from city staff and council to reduce parking and in lieu bring in more car shares, and certainly something we can discuss. That was just not obviously in the design phase. We asked for a lot of interpretation before putting the time and effort into design this, and that was not something we felt was going to ultimately be supported.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and appreciate your comments there. It may not be the one where it changes things a great deal, because of course to reduce the height you'd have to have a whole bunch of different parking. But I just think that kind of envisioning for the town, like I mentioned about walkability, affordability for people too, even if it was the same amount of parking, to have car share programs implemented in there.
Right.
I think it's just a direction that really supports people in the community, because maybe they don't always need a car, but it could make this kind of really to address that missing middle group as well through that. So.
Thanks for that. Well, we'll definitely put that into the realm of consideration here.
Further, I'll wrap up. Okay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to speak. Clearly, it would appear that some height restrictions or some height improvements might be a good suggestion to follow through at this point. I understand, as we say, this is conceptual drawings and so forth, and it looks like you were trying to create a ridge roof instead of flat or slope top, which is great, because it certainly takes away from that flat roof block mentality. And you're kind of trying to fight the battle of, it's a relatively small project, so with even at 3 stories with parking underneath it type of thing, it has the illusion of being higher than what it is and probably getting somewhat overwhelming and so forth. And I think since you have Atar here with you anyways today with the architect, which is very welcoming, I believe that, you can probably achieve that same look, that same uniqueness with maybe a ridge line roof style by just bringing it down somewhat, and just by creating that, because it doesn't look like it's going to be usable space on here. I understand this is conceptual, but it's just, trying to keep that same idea, just another block building, keep that out of there. But at the same time, if you can give the illusion, whatever it takes, you're the expert. You know how to make that look up here, not as high as what it is. And so I think that would be a good fit for the people that are concerned about the sheer height concept that it looks like here. So if you could look at that, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. I see there's another comment. Any other first-time speakers? None? Okay, Councillor Gore, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Another question I have, and I think it was briefly touched on, was the amenities contribution. So, sir, if you can speak to a little bit about the amenities contributions that you will be giving to the city for this rezoning. I understand currently what the city is getting is about $9,600 for the fire department. But looking at just the rezoning itself, the land lift from $647,000 value of the land, with this rezoning, we're looking at about $3 to $4 million worth of the land. Plus, I'm guessing it will likely be strata units. So I'm hoping to see much more contribution, whether it's the bus shelter or completing that sidewalk on Hirst West that's missing or is inadequate. So if you can speak to that, I think that can, if we are able to get those, then you could likely have my support on this project.
Yes, absolutely happy to speak to that. So just to clarify the numbers, the land lift upon rezoning is virtually nil from its current value, from its current state. That value that you have is as complete after the estimated $2.5 million in build costs. The rezone parcel in the, aligning with the new OCP to this new comprehensive development as appraised is, and I'm going to have to double check that number, but is roughly in the low 600,000s or high 500,000s, which is marginally more than the purchase price. And after demo costs, environmental remediation, et cetera, is actually under, and there would be a net loss, and that's just a state of the current market right now and current land prices. So we have a pretty recent appraisal submitted with this as well. That would certainly support that.
Thank you. Any other further questions?
And sorry, I should address, I left a portion of your question out regarding the amenity contributions. Yeah, so we certainly are in support of the recommended amenity contribution to the fire hall, as well as potential for a bus shelter or other recommendations of that nature.
Thank you for that. Councillor Grant, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe just to clarify, I guess, working on the assumption that this is going to be a rental complex, but do you have a decision as to whether you'd be renting or selling these units?
Yeah, the intention is undoubtedly to be a purpose-built rental. Much of that will be market and time dependent, though, of course. Now, as of last Thursday, for example, CMHC announced a major change to their MLI Select program, which is the primary program that allows the vast majority of these rentals to be built, really dampening it and basically making it far less competitive and marketable as they try and take their foot off the gas and allocate those funds elsewhere. So that's just one theoretical example of what could change. Undoubtedly, the intention, as well as from the design perspective, is to be a long-term single PID number, non-stratified rental. But, again, I guess what I'm trying to avoid is a covenant or something to prevent the ability to adapt to changing markets if it were to change.
Good. Yeah, recognizing we're in a state of transition right now with the market, and Vancouver is proving that very much so.
Absolutely.
We that's the dog that wags the tail, the type of thing. And so we recognize that that's coming. So I appreciate you have to exercise caution before you absolutely commit to anything. So we understand that. Thank you. Any further question, councils? Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation, fellas. Yeah, it was great. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council, coming up next, first report on the agenda from the Director of Community Planning and Building is the Zoning and Development Bylaw Amendment at 386 Hirst Avenue West to facilitate a multi-family residential development. This is all the information is in your background package. Council, do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendations as noted? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any further discussion? Councillor Gore, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And through you, I have a question for staff. If Mr. Russell is in the house, I would like to ask a question.
Mr. Russell is in the house. Go ahead. If you could lean
you.
into your mic consistently. Yes.
Thank you. So, Mr. Russell, if you can clarify when we talk about OCP designations for multifamily, with the new housing legislation with the SHMU, whatever it's called, and the possibility of other zones that already exist in the neighborhood, RS2, RS3, those also qualify as multifamily zonings, correct?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Gore, RS3 and higher zones would would qualify as multi-unit residential under the OCP. The RS2 zones, single-family residential, their density is typically lower than what would fit within the multi-unit residential policies.
Sorry, even with the latest changes in the SHMU Act that was passed by the province?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Gore, it's going to depend ultimately on the size of the property. So I believe there's a maximum density of 150 dwelling units per hectare in the multi-unit designation. But I also believe there's on the lower end, there's a lower density of about 40. So it's kind of on the cusp.
Right. And this, thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to ask another question, if I may. This is just for my education and clarification, Mr. Russell. When we look at the CD zones, the comprehensive development zones, my understanding is that they're not like preset zones. They are entertained as the applicant comes with a plan. Like a CD 38 does not exist in our bylaws at this time. So these are customized to what the builder wants to build, trying to accommodate them into what the requirements are into the multi-family unit zoning, correct?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Gore, it is certainly an approach that can be utilized to. In this case, it primarily addresses the fact that the setbacks that have been requested aren't our typical 6-meter setback, as well as the parking. But it's not the only approach. You can put in site-specific provisions within a standard zone as well.
Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to Mr. Russell, if I may. Mr. Russell, assuming that this goes forward, is this a development that would come to the ADP?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Beal, absolutely. It is within a development permit area, and it would, as per policy, it would come before the design panel.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, I know. Yeah, me too, but that's good. Councillor Martin, did you have your hand up? Or, okay, fine. No further comments. Councillor Gore? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just for council, I do want to read this policy that we have within our OCP about multi-unit residential, just for our information. And I'm going to quote our OCP here. Where the lands are bordered by single-unit residential properties, the proponent should consider a design that provides for lower building beside the RS1 zone to provide for a transition from the higher to lower residential densities. So like I previously said, I would like to support this, but I am concerned about the impact on the neighboring properties. Especially with the setback being reduced just for this specific application from 6 meters to 4.5 meters. And in addition to that, I appreciate the applicant talking about the considerations for those amenities. Like, I would like to see them on paper that these are the contributions that we will be receiving as a city. I don't know if it's appropriate at this time to send it back with some revisions. It can come back and have those contributions in writing that we will be getting for this rezoning to go forward. I know the staff report does talk about it being given back to the staff, and if those changes are made. The other thing I would personally like to see in this application, if this moves forward, is zero storm water runoff, because our engineering department is also asking for that. So if all those things are included in the revised version that perhaps comes back to us, I could possibly support this. But at this time, just the applicant saying that they will consider those contributions, I'm not fully ready to bet on that.
Thank you for that. Is there any further comments? Councillor Grant, go ahead.
Maybe just to follow up to staff, if I'm reading the report maybe incorrectly, that there is going to be consideration of on-site stormwater management for this proposal?
If I may, through to Councillor Grens, that would be part of the engineering memorandum. So as part of the application for rezoning, we would secure offsite works and services, but that would also include the storm, the requirements for the storm drainage. And in fact, those are identified in the report as approximately $120,000 worth of works.
Follow up, go ahead.
Thank you. No, I'm just maybe through to council now, is that I'm as I asked about, the height is a little bit maybe dicey for me on this one, since it's so close on the border to a bunch of single family, and to try to transition to what inevitably will be more taller buildings down that road. It'd be nice even, it looks like it's 4 stories plus to me from looking at the renderings today. So that's something I think that could probably be worked out in the next stages. And I look forward to hearing what the public has to say, but I'll be voting to move this forward to the next step.
Thank you. Any other comments? You reaching?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor
I
Martin.
know I've had very little to say because I've been watching this, and I went around the property and I looked at it and I thought about the heights too. And if they can do something about even the impression of the height, like you were saying about the design, because this project looks very good and I do support it. Yeah.
Thank
Will
you.
come back to us again, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? Those opposed? That would be Councillor Gore opposes. Thank you. That carries. The next report on the agenda, Council, is from the Director of Community Planning and Building regarding a follow-up report for the liquor primary new outdoor patio application at the Parksville Curling Club at 193 Island Highway East. For council to provide a resolution to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendations as noted? Moved by Councillor Grens, second by Councillor Martin. Any comments or questions? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I just want to commend the curling club, who is made up of very dedicated volunteers, for their efforts to continue to enhance this facility and make it a very welcoming place. They're out in the parade inviting people to come to learn to curl. They're out in the community inviting people to participate. It's a very welcoming space. I felt very welcome every time I've been there. I appreciate all the work they're doing to make this an amazing facility. And in particular, given the prominence of this location in our jewel of community park, I appreciate their efforts to continue to improve the exterior of this facility, including through hopefully this patio. I'm happy to support this patio to be recommended through to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch.
Thank you for your recognition of their efforts. Well done. Yeah, okay, Councillor Martin, and then I'll get to Councillor Gore. Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've had, and I agree with what Councillor Grens just said, but I've been down there at many functions and admire the volunteerism there. They're just gung-ho and they do a great job. So I believe whatever they're planning will be a very positive improvement for the park besides their building. Thank you very much. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And then this is a case where a community group has been given the opportunity to bring their will continue the curling tradition in the city of Parksville. But at the same time, they have excellent catering facilities, which we've experienced of late, and I was very impressed with that. And there's a lot of volunteers that go into making this all happen, and I was very impressed with this. And this is one more initiative that's going to take them towards self-sufficiency, not all coming with their hand out, but saying what they can do to offer to our community and at the same time be self-sufficient. And that goes a long way in my books as to a great community organization. So I'm appreciative to the Parksville Curling Club for that. Any further comments at this point? Oh, sorry, Councillor Gore, you had your hand up. Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to again commend the curling club. Not only have they been a great volunteer club, but also very good tenants for us. They've looked after the building quite well. It's an aging building, and they've been very welcoming. I think councillors, we have all attended curling events at the club. But I'm quite confident with this patio that they will do their best to minimize any noise or any impact to the mobile home park residents, who are close to this. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. And is there any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you, Council. That passes unanimous. Moving on, the next report on the agenda is from the Director of Engineering and Information Technology. The Emergency Management Oceanside Extreme Heat Response to provide council with the information on the city's response to extreme hot weather events in the 2025 summer season. This is more than anything in your package to explain to our public the plans that are in place, and just to let everyone know that we have this situation well in hand. Do I have a mover or a seconder for the recommendation as noted? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Gore. Any comments or discussion? Councillor Grimes, sorry. I'm seeing you got your hand up first. Councillor
All right,
Grimes.
thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff. First of all, I guess I will show my appreciation for the work being done on EMCR, emergency weather response, by coordinating through Emergency Management Oceanside and the regional district. It's been great to see. I do have a question around the heat response, recognizing that some of the people most at risk in a hot heat emergency situation would be people that are in their homes without air conditioning. Is there anything that we should do or can do or are doing, maybe through the staff, to communicate out to the public at minimum, I guess, to look out for each other's neighbors and check in on people that may be unable to leave their home? Or is there something we can do around the fact that people may not be able to leave a hot home?
CAO Kaler, if you could, there was a response provided by the SOS. I believe that they had a listing, but go ahead. You can give us the official tour.
Thank you. Yes, through you to Councillor Grenz. So there's a number of different things that we do. One of them is sharing the information from the provincial government when there's either an alert or a warning or an extreme weather emergency. So there's different phases of actions that folks can take. And so I think actually the most recent city release was around this type of situation. But we certainly share additional information from the Health Ministry and the Emergency Management Ministry that provides consistent messaging across the province. So all local governments get that information and disseminate it as the changing conditions come and go. So we have temperature thresholds in different parts of the province that activate different expectations. And our emergency program staff are actually working with several folks on outreach. So there's wellness checks, and folks can either sign up in advance or work through their own, whether it be SOS or other Meals on Wheels folks that they're in touch with. And usually that's something that can be activated through the task number as well. So if it's a really, really hot few days, we actually can engage similar to we do with the cold weather we can engage a local provider to provide outreach, check-ins, shipping people back and forth if they need transportation, very similar things. So there's been several meetings in the last few weeks with our staff and the EMO and RDN staff, and the providers, and council has given some guidance on what those providers' criteria needs to be as well. So we feel the summer response last year went really well, and we feel quite comfortable that we have things in hand for this summer as well. But definitely working with your neighbors is always recommended, and we will continue to put that information out through the city, through EMO, and then sharing the provincial messaging as well. So it's kind of multifaceted. So yeah, hopefully that addresses the question.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's important to underscore the responsibility we all have for each other as well. We've got lots of great organizations in the community. We do our part in the city here to collaborate with other local municipalities as well as organizations too. So thank you for the great work on that.
Thank you. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to our CAO, if I may. A number of organizations have been mentioned there, and is Island Health also part of this conversation?
If I may, through
Go ahead.
to Councillor Bill, yes, there's multiple ministries that we work with, and they each have slightly different responsibilities, so it can be a bit confusing, but we usually provide contacts for different things. Our communications folks work with the regional folks and provide, whether it's Island Health, EMCR, which is Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, whether it's BC Housing or SOS, all the acronyms are listed. And so we've been actually trying to extend that information and sort of who provides what and when. And we've got, I would say, quite a ways towards that, but we are still waiting for some information from the provincial government on what services they provide. But we have most of them at this point with the correct contact information, although it does change fairly frequently.
Follow up. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And since I am the liaison to the library, will this information be available at the library for clients there?
Yes, if I may, through you, Mayor, the libraries in BC are all designated cooling spaces and warming spaces. So we provide lots of information on that as well, and the hours and the locations of the libraries, just to supplement that as well.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that we had a successful response to the heat wave. I do want to, I don't think it's news to anybody, but when we last had the heat wave or the heat dome, a lot of the fatalities were seniors living in their own homes. So I know the RCMP used to do through the volunteers the wellness checks. So through you to staff, a question: what is the role of the RCMP or the fire department, if any, in this?
If I may, that's going to be very loud. Sorry.
DAO Kaler, if you could, please.
Sorry, we're just trying to adjust the volume. So the RCMP and fire department really should not be the first call in these situations. They are there for different types of emergencies when someone needs emergency medical or fire. So we try not to rely on them for this. You mentioned during the heat dome, there was one of the provincial responses was providing access to air conditioning units for certain folks who are eligible. That's not done through the city, but there is some support for those kinds of solutions. And you'll see in the information, if you haven't already, there's a lot of tips on how to stay cool in your place, finding out in advance and being prepared, where the coolest place is. Obviously trying to get fans beforehand, because as soon as it gets hot, then they tend to fly off the shelves a little bit. So that information just went out in our most recent news release. And then we have Oceanside community volunteers and other folks who work with all of our agencies. So if the police were to identify an individual or a situation, they could certainly let us know. And they do sometimes do wellness checks when there's other issues. But normally we try to prepare ahead of time so that we're not using the police and fire for that type of response.
If I may follow up, Mayor, just to
Follow up, Councillor Gore, if you could.
Yes, Yes, thank you, Ms. Keller, for that information. Yeah, I was more about the volunteers that the RCMP used to rely on previously. If you can clarify who actually initiates the need for heat response when the temperature threshold is reached in Oceanside? Is it the EMO staff?
If I may,
Go ahead.
I should
Yeah.
give a better lead time.
Volume down. Thank you.
So currently for the city of Parksville or Oceanside region, it's the provincial government that declares the levels. So they have thresholds for each area. And I believe off the top of my head, I'll probably get it wrong, but if it's not cooler than 16 degrees and higher than, I think it's 30 or 28, for a certain period of time with projected conditions continuing, then they designate that as a response. And so, or as an emergency. And so we are able to get a task number and we're able to respond. Below those thresholds, it's they can do warnings and alerts. So the province is responsible for that at the moment.
Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I was hoping it would be more like a decentralized response. So I was hoping more like EMO would be able to do those calls for a heat response. The reason I said that is if it does not hit the threshold for 29 Celsius, 28 Celsius can be as fatal. So if there is an alert and our staff thinks, because considering our demographics and all that, if we need to initiate a response, is it possible that we will not get refunded by the province? Is that true?
Thanks, if I may, through the mayor. So we haven't had that situation on the heat side, but we have experienced situations on the extreme winter weather where it didn't necessarily meet the threshold or there wasn't a call from the province that we were in the emergency weather, but our staff contacted the emergency management ministry staff ahead of time, and we were actually given the approval for funding. The example was like an extreme wind and rain event. And so even though it didn't meet the threshold for the extreme cold, which is what is in the regulation, we were given approval to activate. So if we see a situation at the local level and our contacts here, whether it be Island Health or SOS or anyone that we work with, we can certainly ask. But I guess the difference is when it's when the regulation threshold is met, it's guaranteed that we get that support. There's more of a ask in advance if it's not at the temperature thresholds.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? No? All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. The next report on the agenda is from the Manager of Engineering regarding the Transportation Master Plan for council receipt of the Transportation Master Plan. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendations as noted? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. The next report on the agenda is from the Manager of Engineering regarding the 2025 Pavement Overlay Program Award of Construction Contract. To award the contract for pavement overlay on Industrial Way, Dole Avenue, Aquila Place, Todd Place, Meridian Way, and Aurora Street. Do I have mover and seconder for the recommendations? Moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any comments or discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Beal. Got it, just in time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering, when this work is expected to commence following, the acceptance of this?
CAO Kaler, can you reflect on that, please?
If I may through you, the only thing I was told by staff is that it's for this year. I know it is weather dependent though and capacity dependent. So we are optimistic that we can get it done before the weather window closes, which is usually October.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Councillor Gore disappeared. Just 1 second. Okay. Is that in favor, Councillor Gore? Thank you. Okay, that carries unanimous. Thank you. Okay. The next report on the agenda is from the Director of Human Resources, a follow-up on the group benefits for elected officials to implement group benefits program for elected officials. To get it onto the floor, do I move in a second for the recommendation to receive the report? Moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Wood. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Stop. Now discussion. Sorry. Yeah, yes, we're in discussion now. Yes, do you have your hand up? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Frez.
I just want to say to staff through the mayor, appreciate you guys putting this report together. I noticed that it does include in here a comment that we were looking for, answering if how these could be paid for if we were able to obtain the city's rate as individuals through here, which it shows that if not enough people were to enroll into the UBCM option, that we can also obtain the group source rate as individuals through it. So that's nice to know, because I know that was kind of a we weren't certain on that being there. So appreciate you guys having that included. That was one of the main things I was looking for in this.
Thank you. This has been brought forward anyways from council suggestions anyways, as you know. We have gone through this. We have all the information presented to us as to what the benefits program would look like. It would be looking at it, and after speaking with HR and our CAO, that the group source staff plan would be recommended for this particular case because of it has the most benefits anyways of being right for the city and the council members. So I would like to move a, sorry, we haven't discussed, we haven't voted on the receiving this. Any further comments regarding receiving it? And all those in favor? Okay. Yes, Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Question to staff. Is this the time to clarify what option we are choosing when we vote to receive this, or is that a subsequent motion?
I'll be introducing a motion doing exactly that once this report is received. Sorry, Councillor Gordon, did you hear that? I will be introducing a motion once this report is received to the option that I feel is beneficial to the staff in the city.
Understood. Thank you.
Is that okay? Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of receiving the report? Thank you, that carries. I'd like to propose a resolution anyways at this point that council rescind resolution 22318 for the December 19th, 22 council meeting. And furthermore, that the council remuneration and expense bylaw number 1472 be amended to include the provision of extended health and dental benefits for elected officials under the group source plan. And that upon adoption of all required bylaw amendments, staff be directed to enroll elected officials who choose to participate within the chosen provider, which was group source, not sense. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Martin. As the mover of this recommendation, it has taken some time anyways to get the information proper for the group benefits anyways for all council members. And I thank staff very much for all the extra effort they put into making this happen and getting the information in a timely manner. And so there's 14 months left in this term, folks. And so time travels very quickly. And so the idea was that this would be in place anyways for this term, for the remainder of this term, and then put it in place so that the next council elect in 2026 will make their own decisions as who will apply or not apply, or if they want to continue on with the plan. So this is merely for the application for this council for 14 months, or for the remainder of our term, should say that. So, is there any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Frass.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification there on what your motion is aiming for. Notice it's just a little bit different than the options 1 to 5 on the report here. So the timing was one of the things I was going to be curious about. If it was meant to apply for this council or for future councils. I'm not opposed to the idea of it being for future councils. However, I think this is something that deserves the community's input on it. I'd like to see it going to getting some kind of feedback, whether it's through a survey or some input before we were to just include it as a new part of the remuneration package that goes forward for council. My thoughts on, after talking on our last discussion about finding out if it was included, if we could cover the costs ourselves under the city's rate plan for this term, was answered, and it appears that we can. So I think that's it's great if we need to get to extended benefits that we can jump onto that without having to do anything. It doesn't require staff. I don't think we require any input from the community to be able to pay for our own way for that. But if we're going to start, I think, dipping in, particularly for this council so quickly, I wouldn't be supporting of it without having some community input onto it, be it, like I mentioned, a survey or so on. Then rolling forward for future councils, I'd be more supportive of it because I do agree that there's merit to having extended benefits for people stepping into the role and maybe don't have them provided otherwise. But again, I think that needs some community input to decide to what extent of it. So I'll let it go around the room here to hear their thoughts on it. But I think this motion needs some amendment before it would be something that I would support.
Yeah. So just to comment on that, Councillor Frass, the remuneration packages and so forth, all things being considered, this is how we should have handled it from the very first day we took office. It should have been handled this way, exactly, because I don't think it's correct in allowing one council member to decide for another council member not to get it, the extended benefits, where that one council member that is voting against it is already on a extended benefits plan, either through their spouse or their partner or through some other arrangements they have made. But for those councillors that do not have that benefit already paid for, I think it's very disingenuous to suggest that they should carry on as well without the benefits. And the other thing is that to comment for the public, the surrounding territories around us with we have the city of Nanaimo, the RDN, and the town of Qualicum Beach all have extended benefits extended to their council members or elected officials. All of them are covered. We're the only ones that haven't automatically provided it to them. So that puts us as an advantage health-wise. And I can say why I feel that it's very important anyways that this be put in place for this council, as we have some time left. And I can say that the extended benefits package is a definite advantage because of the fact of what we do. What we do is we engage with our public, we engage with our colleagues, we engage in conferences, we have meet and greets, we have openings, we have everything, which actually puts us at risk, considerably more risk. And I won't go into details anyways, but there's many times that we've had people go away on conferences and so forth. And as of recently, just one lately in Ottawa, a number of people came back from that and they had COVID. And this was, actually as a result of doing the job that we do. So the thing is that I'm not sure whether all of those people that had COVID had it, but I know that our people that some of our people from the city of Parksville went, and whether they had their own coverage or not, that's their own personal information. But at the same time, for those that don't have coverage on extended benefits, we are putting ourselves at risk every day for all that. I'm sorry, it's all the handshaking what we do. And we get that. I get that as a elected official. And it's my responsibility to go out there and be with the people and do our networking. But at the same time, an extended benefits package makes me very more capable to be able to take care of whatever medical conditions are picked up while on the road, so to speak, while in the performance of my job. And so I feel it's a deserved part of the compensation package. Just as the compensation package was decided by the last council, which we were part of. And at the same time, we got a staff report anyways, what was fair and so forth. And that's how we came across our compensation package that we do have, which we feel is an adequate compensation package. But it did not include at that time the increase to automatically have extended benefits. Maybe it should have at that time, but we did the best we could with what we had. So now this has been brought up as well, that this council is not totally covered. Not everybody here at this table is totally covered. And I feel that that is a disservice to these individuals that are giving up of their time and their service. So that's why I put it through. And I feel that I can defend it to any member of public if they feel that they don't deserve that, feel that myself or any of my council members here deserve it. I will defend it, and I will meet with them at any time to explain the reasoning why. And so I'm confident that this is a good move for the protection of our council members, just like many of the rules of code of conduct and so forth are brought in for the protection of our council as well. So, and it's like communities to us and around us already have this in place, and they put it in place for a reason. So that's why I'm supporting this. Thank you. So Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, for bringing this forward. I just want to mention a couple of things. That we are coming close to 3 years of this council, and this is the third time we are debating this motion. It shows two things: that yes, there is a desire on some certain members of council to have these benefits, which I totally agree with, and I respect that. However, also the majority of the council is not supportive of this. This also shows that. And just going back to bringing it again for the third time, I do believe the same comments over and over does not really change the fact that this has been defeated. And if 3 members of council who are supportive of this can easily participate in the UBCM plan, so I don't see a reason why we should be debating this again, to be honest. So yeah, I'm still not convinced that this is appropriate for this council to consider these benefits at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I believe that that I'm pretty much in agreement with Councillor Fraz's comments, in that if I got all of it correctly, I'm not totally sure, but from my reading of the proposal, it would appear that we could, for instance, join the staff benefits, and that for the remainder of the term, and then consider something going forward. I don't believe there's anything against us paying for this ourselves for the remainder of this term, which I think would probably be the most prudent approach, maybe the wisest approach politically. Although I did speak with our CAO about cost effectiveness, and I gather it's probably more cost effective just to kind of cover everything in terms of a staff personnel time. Nonetheless, I think that there's room for one thing that I really appreciate the comparison that staff has put forward. I understand that if we went with the existing city plan, that there's no minimum number, which really then makes it, less risky. If someone really feels for whatever reason that they need this benefit, then I don't want to be in the way of that. But there's no number 3 minimum. And we could be paying for it for ourselves for the remainder of this term. And I do agree that having something like this as part of a package is a very reasonable request in this day and age. It's generally included in almost any workplace. And I do agree with the mayor and everyone here that we certainly do work, and there's some recompense for that. But I would be more supportive of this if we are in fact paying for it for ourselves for the remainder of this term.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Grants, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council. I'm also going to reinforce what Councillor Fraz said about consulting a bit about it, especially since that's what UBCM recommends in terms of looking at remuneration for council as part of their guidelines. In that case, I think they recommend setting up like a citizens panel to examine the question, because this does kind of spill into, it is end of the day part of the whole package of remuneration for being a member of council, and there are good policy reasons to look at things like having benefits in terms of recruitment, both for people who may otherwise, that may be a barrier for them to run, or for folks that would have what the mayor raised, which I hadn't really thought of, the fact that, yeah, we we know that people missed meetings in our neighboring communities after returning from a conference, which they're not getting paid to be there. They're not paid as a counselor specifically to be at that event, but they do go as part of their job as being a counselor. In terms of the staff report, I very much appreciate the breakdown. It looks to me like it would make no sense to be a part of the UBCM plan because it's not that much lower in cost than the plan that we have for exempt staff here in the city. And probably from a logistical administrative perspective, it's probably easier to administer that than administering the UBCM plan, especially since there's no minimum threshold. I did talk to a counselor in our neighboring community of Qualicum Beach and can definitely confirm what the mayor said about Qualicum Beach automatically is enrolled in the same plan that exempt staff have. It's not even something they opt in or out of, which I am a little bit concerned about the idea of opting in, because you're essentially opting into a higher compensation package if you opt in, and it's not really a good look to, I don't know, I wouldn't feel comfortable opting into more compensation than maybe another counselor would opt in for. So either it's an automatic opt-in that would be put in place, or you would opt in to that as part of, a reduction in your council pay or something, if that's something that we wanted to include. Seems to me would be the way to go with it. But so to the comments made by Councillor Gore, I think definitely points out some valid things here. The fact that this keeps coming up does speak to the fact that there's a desire to have this put in place sooner rather than later. I just, I'd be a lot more comfortable doing something like that if it was something that the community recognized that they wanted their representatives to have as part of the way to get the best possible representation in the community that they can. So other than that, I do have a hard time kind of supporting just adding this to the compensation. I guess one other thought, and I'm not very organized. I apologize for my thinking on this, but it is true that had we at the beginning of our term opted in at that time, it would have been probably a lot less sort of politically dangerous to do then. And at that time, we did vote not to do it. And so during those years, we haven't had that as a cost. And we also haven't had that as something that we can benefit from in terms of our own health and being able to do the job to the point that the mayor's making around doing the best possible job we can. So if there is a way to do a quick council committee or something of the community to provide some feedback on this, I would be supportive of that idea. I just have a lot of hesitation around doing it for this term. And I haven't fully even thought through whether I would support it for next term either. I would probably rather that not be something that I decide myself. That said, I will say one more thing is that going into this job, I think people, when they go into this role, do not understand the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that is involved in being in this role. I certainly underestimated what's involved in being on council, and feel like to run again, if our compensation package were as low as it was in previous councils, I probably wouldn't run again, just knowing what the job entails now and the amount of that you personally sacrifice out of your other, like I have another job, like I have to sacrifice from that in order to do this. So I wouldn't be able to do that in the same way if I didn't have some compensation for that, that makes up for that. So those are just a bunch of random thoughts.
Go ahead, Count. Just in comment to your report about your suggestion about opting in or opting out. It's best to have it that way, you know, to opt in or opt out type of thing, because if you can not use Parksville funds type of thing, because you get on a spousal benefit package or something like that, I like that option to be given to the individual. And plus the fact of the matter is, the Sophie report is always available. It was just released, and it would actually show the benefits that you apply for or that you receive anyways, as well as your compensation package. It would, the extended benefits would be included in that as well. Just like, as well as your, and those that chose to go to the conferences and so forth, the expenses that are paid, that too is recorded in the, so you opt in or opt out of that too. So that, it, to me, that is a good feature, and it is public knowledge at the end of the year, as just happened with our financial plan. Anyways, the Sophie report advised all the expenditures for that particular council member's activities. So that, go ahead, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. The good part about this report to me is that council and mayor can opt in as it is under their own finances that we already, receive. To me, I think what we're discussing is whether or not we're going to use taxpayer funds to pay for benefits today and for the rest of the term. Victoria voted and discussed and voted on their own compensation. They were going to give themselves a 25% pay increase. And, when that hit the papers, they quickly backtracked and they said, oh, let's think about it again. There's a couple of different ways that elected people have to vote on their own packages, and a couple of them make me very nervous. And one of them is when it's retroactive to, say, the beginning of your term. It's like I would never, ever support something like that. And then if we're going to increase it while we're sitting here, I feel like that's a very precarious vote, and I'm uncomfortable with that. And, the previous term, there was a vote on that. And I guess, all the power to you to do it while you're sitting in the seat. The least dangerous way, in my opinion, is to vote for the next group that sits in these chairs. I think it's the most palatable to the taxpayer, that we want to improve, often this thankless job for the next group that is in here. And for me, I think that's the most palatable to the taxpayer. But like I said, the good news with this report is that we can opt in, and I'd speak from probably a place of privilege. My wife's a registered nurse, and so I am part of her package, and I'm thankful for that. But really, since we can opt in under our own finances, then that option is there today. Really, what we're discussing is who is going to pay for it. I don't think I'm comfortable in doing it at this part of our term. I would be interested in a discussion for the next group that sits here. That is something that I would be interested in, because I think we want to make these seats, like I was saying, as open as possible to people of a variety of financial means for the next group. Thanks very much.
Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to pick up on something, and again, maybe I've missed something here, but I do not believe, my understanding is that we actually have to approve the ability for us even to opt in. No? Because my understanding was that we are not part of that package and that we would need to vote to allow that to occur. So if I could just get clarification about that, because otherwise I'm not sure. So, and if that's the case, then I would want to support that so that it would allow any of us to opt in. But as others have said, I would feel more comfortable that none of that is that taxpayer money. But I would be, let's see, if I chose to do that, that I would be paying for that myself.
And just to be, yeah, I was just going to say, and just to be clear, and any counselor that doesn't have extended benefits has always had the option, right from day one. Blue Cross offers extended health benefits to be paid for by themselves. You can build your own extended health benefit package. Yeah. No, well, with Blue Cross, with a provider. Yes, yes.
I
So-
guess I was wondering if one could join the city package, which presumably might have some advantage financially over individuals getting their own package separate from the city.
CAO Kaler, if you would.
Thank you. So I'll do my best to answer this question. So the first piece is that the UBCM benefits are available without the city paying. So in the past, we would just ask counselors, did they want that benefit? And then they just sign up. But the caveat is there has to be 3 from each local government as a minimum. Our HR director spoke with our plan because we have to get a quote on basically what that would look like for elected officials who are a different category than our union or exempt. But my understanding is that we are allowed, they've kind of given us that quote for that rate. And if the counselors pay for it themselves, then the city basically just gives you the form and you fill it in and send it to them. But we would have to chase the council down to get the payment because it would be included in our monthly payments. And we would then have to figure out a way, whether it's working with finance to just deduct it or for you to bring us the payment, or we'd have to figure that piece out, but.
Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And to follow up on some of Councillor Gore's mentions that, yes, this has come forward, but each time it's come forward, it has not been exactly the same discussion. When it came forward initially, the only option and the only discussion was about joining the UBCM plan. And at that time, quite frankly, maybe we didn't have enough information about it and it was limited, and that was the discussion. But what we're looking at now is a result of a previous motion directing staff to find out what the different options were. So I do see those as quite different, and now we do have 2 options in front of us.
Go ahead, Councillor, or CAO Kaler.
Thank you. If I may, just want to also clarify that the UBCM program has changed since your first meeting. So initially, council unanimously approved the idea of amending the bylaw and putting the benefits into the package. There was a 4-month window initially, but UBCM recently changed that because of questions from local governments to opt in now, given all the things you've talked about around the table. So there's a couple of other things in that way that have changed. So when the bylaw came back, for whatever reason, it didn't pass. So there's been a little bit of back and forth on, I think, where council stands with this one. So there has been slight differences each time. So that's why and we're following your resolution from the last time to bring this one back, so.
So just following that line of questioning, then, if it was all approved at that particular time, is the only reason it didn't go through was because there wasn't sufficient amount of council members, or we missed the deadline for UBCM?
So if I may, what happened was we brought the report in December of whatever your first year was.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was unanimous. The motion at that time was to amend the bylaw and basically activate the city paying for benefits.
Right.
And that passed unanimously. And so staff went ahead and drafted an amended bylaw that included that, got the quote from UBCM, and then the bylaw didn't pass when we brought it back in January or February. And then the deadline passed. So the UBCM deadline initially was February 28th, I believe. It's usually a kind of a 3-month window after the new council is elected. So at that point, at that time, the UBCM deadline passed. When the bylaw failed, we kind of ran out of time. So then the next time it came back was for a payment in lieu, if council will remember correctly. It came during budget discussion. Because the UBCM option wasn't on the table at that time. But very recently, like in the last few weeks, our discussions with UBCM is that they have been more generous with the timeline because they're getting asked by a lot of local governments just because of the way things go with having to sit at the table. And now they indicated to us that about 50% of local governments have opted for that plan, whereas it used to be significantly lower. So now we're able to bring back that new option of enrolling in UBCM. The 3 minimum does still stand. And then the city's plan has no minimum. So that's the other rate that's available.
So as per CAO Kaler's comments, we did already unanimously approve the benefits plan through UBCM. We already approved that. And that, and then,
May I, Mayor, please? Thank you.
so you already approved it, but you don't want to approve it now. Councillor Gower, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to clarify and I hear the CEO's comments, but my recollection of the events, not that I want to go back further on this, we've discussed this enough, that what we did pass the first time was the 3 options for the staff to look at. Now, when the city pays for the full, we do 50-50, and the third, the taxpayers pay the full amount. So we only passed those options to look at those options, what it would look like. The report subsequent to that came before the council was only with one option saying this is what it's going to cost the taxpayers. That's why it failed. That's why I voted against that, because that was the only option presented in that bylaw. But I want to go back to the motion that's being tabled, discussed right now. Can staff clarify that the motion that the mayor has presented, it will actually change the bylaw where the city will be covering all the costs, correct?
CAO Kaler, go ahead.
Yes, if I may, through to Councillor Gore, yes, that's correct. So the city's bylaw must be changed if we are to cover the cost. If a councillor is opting in and paying their own cost, the bylaw does not have to be changed.
And the follow-up, if I may, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Yes, thank you. So just receiving the report itself, now any council member can opt into the group source plan as well, correct?
If I may, that is correct. And if 3 or more wanted to, they could choose the UBCM self-funded option.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question through to staff, and just if I can get the clarification on the timelines here. Was it the unanimous motion to adopt the UBCM health plan? Was that do we know the date of that meeting? Was that prior to this council, right? Was this council?
No. So if I may, I was going from memory, but now my trusty assistant has pulled up the dates. So the initial report went to council on December 19th of 2022. And the motion that was passed out of that, the second piece of it was that the enhanced extended health benefit and dental plan for elected officials be approved with costs included in the 2023 to 2027 financial plan. So that was the motion that passed, directing us. The next one was to amend the bylaw to reflect that benefit package enhancement. The bylaw was then, it takes us a bit of time. So the bylaw was then changed, and the bylaw itself came back to council at the January 16th, 2023 meeting and was defeated. But that's what the
Yeah.
bylaw didn't pass.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Grants? So, and I recall that because I was away in January when that vote went through. Remember? I was not here. And I remember falling off my chair when I heard it, like we already approved it. And then when it came to passing the bylaw, it was defeated. So that is kind of why it keeps on reappearing, because I couldn't understand how the council could vote against one that they had already asked it may happen, but. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought he was saluting.
Well, I will.
Councillor Gore, adios.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. I'll speak for myself, and I think I have a very good excuse. Being a first-time councillor, I had no idea that's what was going to happen with that motion. But it was never my intent that this benefit package should be added to our remuneration bylaw. And that's why I voted against it, and I'm still with the same feeling about this resolution. So please call the question when you're ready.
Councillor Martin, go ahead.
It's kind of interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And also thank you, CEO Keever, for all the effort put into this. And it's, you know, what is really interesting now after all this, we've got this option to, on the source, to actually pay our own. And I think that we never knew about this way back. And so I appreciate that today that we're able to do that. So thank you very much. And we can vote on this if we want. Or
Yeah.
do we have to? I don't know.
Yeah, it's, yeah, just stop now. Councillor Frass, comment, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and to council through the mayor. For me, it still stands out that after all this time, we haven't even consulted the public in any fashion on it. It's a simple thing to do. And for me to advance something like this, that's all I require to be able to make a vote in favor of it, is to have some kind of support from the public. But without their support, and in fact, I've had emails with them opposing it when they saw this coming on our agenda. So I simply cannot support it for that reason alone. But I do think there is merit for the future.
Yeah, at this particular point, I feel that we're the leaders, we're the elected leaders, so we make the decision at this table. We've got the proper information from our staff that have provided ably what is provided in other areas around us. To consult the public at this time would be, we wouldn't have it back before the end of the term, so I'm not in favor of that. I got to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? That would be opposed. Councillor Fraz opposed, Councillor Grenz opposed, Councillor Wood opposed, Councillor Beal opposed, Councillor Gore opposed. That does not carry. I'll withhold my disappointment till later. But anyways. Next report on the agenda. Sorry.
Can I make an alternate motion regarding this?
You may make a motion off the floor, Councillor Fraz, of course.
Just regarding these benefits package that we request is to go back for some public consult, be it a survey through Let's Talk Parksville or some kind of a public hearing of some fashion, because I think it would be important to get some public feedback on it, and then we can actually advance it. Like you say, that there's not much time. We have over a year left in the term. I think it's plenty of time to get some feedback from the public. Sorry, that's the discussion part of the motion. The motion would be to request staff to advance this for some public feedback on the benefits package.
What would that look like, CEO Kaler? Is that doable, or is that
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt before we get a seconder, but just to let council know, our current remuneration bylaw does actually have a clause in it that says the current council should review the full package at least 3 months prior to the end of the term. So it's already on our work plan to do that next year in 2026. Normally, we would start it earlier than 3 months prior. So like in the spring, we have it on our work plan to start that process, which could relatively easily include public engagement. So perhaps if I can just clarify with Councillor Fraz, if the timing of that works out okay, we could still take the motion today, but just have it start in March of 2026.
That would satisfy what I'm looking for, is just to have some public consult included in that.
Councillor Wood, go ahead. Seconding. I'm not in favor of that. That's out of the entire spirit of this March. Once again, now we're into the final term. Yeah, only because I know some things that are private information that I'm not about to divulge right now. So no, I'm not in favor of that at all. Thanks. Anybody else? It's been moved and seconded. Any other comments?
Maybe question through to staff, maybe? Just to clarify on the motion, or maybe it's the mover. Would the consultation be, are you proposing the motion roll into the staff's planned work plan now, or it's something that you'd want to do sooner? Okay.
No, just based on what she said, that they're going to be reviewing the compensation package prior to 3 months of the end of the term, that it includes public consultation in that, particularly for the benefits package, so that we can then make a decision that would roll into the next council. So it would be included in the work that they already have planned to do.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Mayor O'Brien opposes. Is there enough direction on that CAO, Kaylor? Okay, so it's going, as I understand it, it'd go to public consultation in the March 26.
Yes, if I may, we would normally start the process by bringing a sort of a scope to council. So we could get further input on that, but we would aim to have it brought to you in March because we usually don't want to do a lot of that type of work once the election period has commenced, which is 80 days prior to the election. So we'd probably want to have it tied up by June at the latest. That also helps us with the financial planning for the first year of a new term. So we could try and bring it back sooner, but the bylaw requires us to do it at least 3 months prior. So that's not great. 3 months prior is kind of in the middle of summer. So we usually try to do it a little sooner.
Thank you. Moving on. Next report on the agenda is from the Manager of Administrative Services for a follow-up report. Bylaw review and amendment, traffic, property maintenance, bylaw offense notice, fees and charges. To present further bylaw amendments for council consideration. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendations as noted? Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Martin.
Excuse me.
Discussion, yes.
Can we separate these out? Just
Oh.
that I do have some questions,
Cer-
so I would
certainly.
like to have the received.
Let's do
before
the
we
received one first.
Yeah,
Certainly,
thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
let me
that.
rephrase that to mover seconder for the first recommendation to receive the report. Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion on receiving the report? Seeing none,
Oh, yeah.
you want to discuss about receiving the report?
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I have some questions about some of the information
For
in
the
it.
next one,
So
yeah.
for the next one.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
thank
get on
you.
the table. Okay, so all those in favor of receiving the report? Thank you. That carries unanimous. Now, the mover and seconder for the recommendation that the property maintenance amendment bylaw number 2025, number 1383.3, traffic amendment bylaw 2025, number 1436.4, bylaw offense notice enforcement amendment bylaw 2025, number 1486.13, and fees and charges amendment bylaw 2025, number 1515.6, be advanced to the statutory process under the bylaws section of the agenda. I need a mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Wood. Discussion. Now, Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have a few questions about some of the bylaws. So I'm starting with, I believe traffic was the first one on the list. Yeah, so regarding traffic, I was looking through the proposed amendments and on page 110, item N, it says that by amending the existing section 17.1 T 1B to read as follows: selling flowers, fruit, vegetables, seafoods, or other commodities or article unless expressly permitted by city permit. So these are things that would be not allowed, right? So I guess my question is, so does this apply to, I've got my notes here somewhere, pardon me. So where do lemonade stands fit into this? And I'm really not being completely facetious here, but we do have situations around town where I could think of on my street as well. There are 2 different households where the little kids set up lemonade stands. How do free items fit into this? How do garage sales fit into this? Have there been concerns about somebody selling flowers? So I'd just like some clarification as to where this is coming from. You know, are we over-regulating things? At the same time, I don't think I'd like to see a little seafood stand set up in front of somebody's house. So I'm just wondering what kind of, I understand that I imagine there would be some discretion, but I'd like a sense of this. And just to further add, I believe it was in Kelowna where a bylaw officer actually did, you know, shut down a lemonade stand. Maybe it wasn't, somewhere in the Okanagan. So if we could have comments, thanks.
If I may, so this is not, it doesn't apply to lemonade stands, so it's commercial activities. We don't really regulate lemonade stands to the best of my knowledge. And garage sales again are on private property. So this is the traffic bylaws on city road. So we don't allow people to sell items from city road. So a farm stand is from their own property, or garage sales are their own property. Even lemonade stands really shouldn't be on the road, but we don't go after them. We don't proactively enforce against little kids' lemonade stands.
Follow up, Councillor Beal.
So if, for instance, I or my neighbor had an excess of zucchini, as always happens during zucchini harvest time, and I had a little sign that said zucchini by donation, that might be all right. I'm being slightly silly, but
Yeah,
you know,
it says,
like, is it
going to
an
It says
option
selling.
for people?
so if I may clarify, it does say selling, and it's intended for commercial. And we have had some circumstances actually where commercial enterprises have set up on city property. And that has created concerns around people being able to transverse the street or the sidewalk. And also, I believe in the one or two cases I'm aware of, which are going back probably before the ones you might be aware of, the individuals didn't have business licenses either. And so this is, again, discretion is always a piece of the bylaw world. They are delegated that authority from council. So they're not going to be unreasonable in my experience. They've all been pretty level-headed, reasonable folks, but this expressly says selling, not giving away or donating, or and a little kid's lemonade stand isn't a commercial enterprise, in my opinion.
Any further discussion regarding the zucchinis? The zucchinis are safe.
I actually didn't grow zucchini this year, although I'm out of zucchini relish. So if anybody has any out there, I will gladly make a donation. I know it's not ready yet. I have a very good recipe though, so I'll do that. I would like to, let's see, the next one is around, sorry. No, perhaps it's not. Vacant and abandoned buildings. Is that under this particular one, or is that a next one? It's part of this, okay, property. So I was just curious about, I understand that from my reading of this regarding vacant and abandoned buildings, the onus, it's mostly about securing the property. But I am wondering, is there any time limit as to how long one can have an abandoned, or at what point, if it's derelict, is that allowed, assuming that the property is fully fenced? And there I'm thinking about a property that many of us may know that's on Island Highway East, not too far from the resort area. I used to think it was RDN property, but I gather it is in the city. So as long as that property is fenced, it can remain in that state indefinitely.
So if I may, through council or through the mayor to Councillor Beal, so there is a distinction in the bylaw around it being designated as not being in compliance. So that again does give some discretion to the bylaw officer if things are clean and kept in a state that isn't creating a nuisance or creating any issues. They are, I think it says 24 months. Yeah, so item F on page 108. Speaks to a 24-month duration, which was consistent with other jurisdictions. One of the concerns, I guess, that we hear is when there's a number of buildings boarded up and vacant, it does detract from the revitalization efforts, as well as creating some septed and just other nuisance issues for bylaw, police, and fire and RCMP. So we wanted to bring some provisions in where we're essentially working with the owner for them to give us a plan. So if the property is creating some concerns, there's a time limit that they must give us the plan. And if they don't, then they're subject to fines. So it creates a little bit more enforcement than what we currently have, where we get a lot of complaints, but we don't have any ability to compel the owner to do anything. Because our bylaw is just not specific enough around that. So we're trying to provide just some guidelines around those properties that are sitting vacant for many, many years to get the plan from the owner. So it doesn't really necessarily come up with the remedy, like a sort of defined remedy. It just gives us an ability to work with the owner, and if they are refusing to work with us, then it is an offense.
Follow up, Councillor Beal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would very much like to compliment staff who have worked on the fees and all of that table with all the item. I particularly appreciated noting items where there was a compliance agreement possible. So it indicated to me that in situations where an initial fine might be whatever it is, that there is an option to work with the homeowner or whoever to come up with a plan. And I really appreciated the way that was laid out. My next question is more about noise bylaw, which I believe is separate. So thank you for, yes, thank you for your patience with this.
Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Can staff speak to the, is this the right motion where the bylaw talks about parks and public spaces bylaw? Where it's increased fine for overnight parking of an RV? Is this the right time to ask?
If I may, yes.
Okay, and subsequent, I think I wanted to also ask about the traffic bylaw increased fine for occupying trailer as living quarters offense. Can staff tell us, like, why do we need to increase the fines for these issues? Is this the reason I bring it up is we already know in Oceanside and anywhere on the island, like housing is a big, affordable housing is a big issue. So are we trying to find people who cannot afford a home, or is this campers staying in their RVs on public? Like, what is the problem in the city?
CAO Kaler. Yeah.
I turn down? Yes. Okay, sorry,
Thank
don't want to
you.
be too loud. So this came out of a couple of actual situations where we've had people choosing to camp in the park, community park overnight for several nights last summer or previous summers. And so the fine was less than the campsite fees in the region. So if you wanted to camp at Rath Trevor, say it was, I don't know, $80 a night probably, and the fines were less. And so we had a number of people just choosing to camp in our community park, which created some issues for a couple of events that were planned. We've also had people camping on roadways or at the end of like roads that aren't fully built or roads that are dead-ended. And so the advice, again, reviewing what other jurisdictions do, is you try to make the fine, like example two with our dog licensing, for example, you make the fine higher than the license so that there's an incentive for people to do the legitimate activity, and the fine is more than that. So that's where that the thinking comes on that one.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I was just stalling here, stalling. No further questions. All those in favor?
Sorry, I have one more question, Mayor.
By the nick of time. Go ahead, Councillor Gara.
Yes, thank you. So through you to our CAO, question about traffic control. Is this within this resolution? I'm guessing it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So now there will be a need for a qualified person to do the traffic control. I was wondering if staff had an opportunity to get some feedback from nonprofit groups or like the Chamber, PDBA, who actually used city roads for some of their events. And since this will probably lead to some added costs for them to run their events, if there was an opportunity to get the feedback from them.
Go ahead, CAO Keller.
Thank you. So if I may, the requirement to have the traffic control is already in place. That's a provincial requirement. What this does is allow for enforcement where somebody who isn't authorized puts something on a road or tries to control traffic, and they haven't been either approved to do that or they don't have the proper people to do it. So it's not going to, unless there's a contravention, it shouldn't change the cost of providing that required service.
Thank you. Because what I read was that now they need to have a qualified professional who has been certified by an authority who can actually control traffic rather than a volunteer with a high vis on who can, flag the vehicles and whatnot. So that was my question. Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure he's finished. Okay, I think he's done. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to follow up on Councillor Gore's comments, this was a section that I read and reread a few times. I could be a slow learner, I'm not sure, but I did actually really appreciate the way it was written in that in some cases there is a permit. I'm certainly aware of events. I'm certainly involved with a number of organizations and am privy to how they set up events. And in some cases, where there doesn't have to be active traffic management, for instance, there has been a permit or permission to set up things in a particular way that does not necessarily require a certified person at every single little location for the event. So depending on the circumstance, I'd just like to say again, kudos to staff, the way it's written. It allows for a permit and where needed or where authorized would need to have someone who has certification. And certainly we've seen and people do need to provide some kind of a traffic plan, but working with local government can have that approved. And we've certainly seen some changes, which has been to financial benefits, certainly for the chamber with the Tuesday night market and how they've been able to refine that setup. It has been less costly for them, but it still meets all the necessary requirements. I've seen the same in the town of Qualicum Beach at a number of events. So I really appreciate the way it is written. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor, again? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have under bylaws for 3 readings, the Property Maintenance Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1383.3. Regarding housekeeping amendments, additions of sections on improperly stored materials and vacant abandoned buildings. Do I move or second or further recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood, second by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. 3 readings for the Traffic Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1436.4. Housekeeping amendments regarding the addition of section on unauthorized traffic control. Do I move or seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Carries unanimous. 3 readings for the bylaw offense notice enforcement amendment bylaw 2025, number 1486.13. Housekeeping amendments for the associated with other amendment bylaws increase and escalating fees. Do I move or a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Just a quick question to staff through you, Mayor. Whenever these amendments and changes are made to the bylaw, how are we communicating those to the public so they are aware of these changes?
C.A. Taylor, did you get that question? Okay, repeat your question, please, Councillor Gore.
Yeah, sorry. So whenever we do these amendments, and hopefully they all pass today, how do we communicate these changes to the public so they're aware?
Thanks.
Yes.
So a number of ways. We always do highlights of the council decisions the day after the council meeting. And we also have, sorry, something's falling from the ceiling. We also have brochures on most of our bylaws, especially the more commonly used ones or the more common ones that we get questions on. So we usually will update the brochures. Those are all available online. And then we quite often with something of this magnitude where we've in the last 2 meetings changed quite a few bylaws, we would most likely do a news release the report itself on the council agenda is also a form of notice or advertising in that it goes over the changes. So a number of different ways. And then of course, bylaw, depending on what it is for business license bylaw, we usually do direct notice when we send out like the business license information. So a number of different ways that we can do it. And with utility billing, for example, we sent out the water conservation changes. So we try to be do what makes sense for the users that we can reach in different ways.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Bylaws for 3 readings, the fees and charges amendment bylaw 2025, number 1515.6, housekeeping amendments. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Bylaw for final adoption, the noise control amendment bylaw 2025, number 1432.1. Housekeeping amendments, addition of decibel levels, addition of exemption for heating, cooling systems, and noise from commercial or industrial zones. Do I move or seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Grenz. Any discussion? Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of questions here. One is, first of all, directed to staff. Is there data kept on noise complaints, both quantity and what the nature of the complaints are?
If I may?
CAO Taylor, go ahead.
Yes. Short answer, but yes, both. So property
Yes.
specific, sorry, I don't know. Did you want me to expand? We record all bylaw complaints. Some become files and have like a more in-depth engagement from the bylaw officers. And then others are just like a query or something general. And then if it's about a particular property, it becomes a property notice in our system.
Go ahead, follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And one of the reasons I ask is I assume that some of these recommendations for changes have come from, you know, some particular situation or a trend of situations. And I am wondering about the heating and cooling systems. And, you know I went along with that, but why would they be exempt? I did look in a little bit into the noise range that's normally associated with these devices. And, you know, it's 40 to 60 decibels. It doesn't look like it would normally be outside of what's permitted in the noise bylaw. I seem to have mixed up the order of my sheets here, but I wonder if you could speak to that and why we need to take it out or what the intent is for that particular category.
If I may.
CAO Taylor, go ahead.
So prior to this amendment, there was nothing in the bylaw, so it was not really addressed. And so essentially the way the bylaw is written is that the heat pump or heat, whatever we call it, cooling system, is permitted to operate within a certain noise range. What we heard or understand is that if they're not properly maintained or screened, then the noise can be higher. And then that becomes difficult for residents who are nearby. So we allow them, but they have to meet that threshold. And so there's also a time. So during the day, it can be a different threshold than at night. And that's based on the experience of adjacent property owners or individuals. And given that we have relatively higher density, and now with the SMUH even more so, we're just trying to essentially have a guideline of what's an acceptable noise at night from those types of devices.
Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you very much. So then, in fact, there is some regulation now for heat and cooling systems, from what I understand, right? So they will be included with these ranges within there. Super. Thank you very much.
Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you. So Mayor, can you clarify what the resolution is? Because I heard you say exemptions for commercial properties as well, but that does not say that on my agenda. What is the resolution that we're final adoption?
2025 1432.1.
What I have is housekeeping amendments, addition of decibel levels, addition of exemption for heating, cooling systems. That's all I have on the agenda.
For a trusted hard copy.
If I may, I think that
Yeah.
might be a cut and paste error because that was what council amended. So that
Right.
was deleted from the first three readings.
Okay, I'm working off of a printed copy instead of a, yeah, okay, that's fine. Sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor Gore. Yeah, they were that was amended and that particular commercial and industrial zone was deleted.
So if you can please restate the motion there, please.
Yes, the noise control amendment bylaw 2025 number 1432.1. Housekeeping amendments, addition of decibel levels, addition of exemption for heating, cooling systems.
For final adoption. What?
Yes, for final, this is final adoption, yes.
If I may, the bylaw is attached as well, so folks can see exactly what that looks like on page 124.
124, okay.
123, sorry. If I may, I'm getting some gesturing through the mayor. I think Councillor Beal is asking if the commercial thing was taken out. Is that correct?
Yes, I understood that we did, that commercial and industrial is not exempt. That was removed. However, it
Yes.
wasn't clear to me the status for the heating and cooling system. So I'm happy to see that it does have decibel readings attached to it and that it is included in the bylaw. And I just hope that we're all in agreement that that is how that reads.
I'm just speed reading here, the very final part of 1432.1. Yes, it is not in the amended copy. Yes. For the commercial and industrial zones. Right. They're gone. It does have the limits on the decibel readings. Yes, yes. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I do agree, like maybe staff can clarify why is the wording even exemption included in this for the heating and cooling systems? We could just have the decibel levels because I don't know if it can be confusing for the public when they see there's an exemption, but then we have the decibel limits. So why is the word even exemption in the bylaw?
CAO Kaler?
So if I may, we don't currently have anything in the bylaw on these units, so they're not regulated at all. So what we're trying to do is say that the units within the threshold are exempted from the enforcement, right? So if somebody has a unit that is operating within the required noise level, they're exempt from an offense.
Okay, Councillor Gore? Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Final adoption bylaw, City of Parksville sign regulation amendment bylaw 2025 number 1511.2. Housekeeping amendments. Do I mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Wood. Any discussion? Okay, sound delay. Okay, all those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Notices of motion. Mayor O'Brien has motion regarding the appointment of the acting mayor. The following resolutions have been placed on the agenda in lieu of notice, so council may vote on it today. Do I have a mover or a second? I'll move the following. I'll need a seconder that Councillor Jay Grenz be appointed as acting mayor for the period July 1, 2025 to November 3rd, 2025. I need a seconder for that. Seconded by Councillor Wood. The reason for that is because Councillor Gower would be actually the acting mayor at this particular time, who is unable to fill those obligations anyways, being located where he is right now. Councillor Grenz is next on the list, and that's why we're appointing this for this period at this time. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you. The next notice of motion is from Mayor O'Brien regarding the fees for electric vehicle charging units. We're hearing today. Do I have a seconder for the motion that I'm proposing? Okay, I'll read it out loud. Recommendation that staff be directed to prepare an amendment to fees and charges bylaw 2015 number 1516 to implement electric vehicle charging fees at all public city owned electric vehicle charging stations. I'm moving that motion, seconded by Councillor Fraz. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Fraz.
Yeah, thank you. I second this, thinking it's appropriate time for it to be coming forward. I know we've seen it happen in other municipalities around us. This is not the first time that Parksville's looked at it. I can't recall when it was that we had the discussion, but I do recall that we had looked at it previously, and we just weren't quite there as to what the fees would be and how we go about it. But I would like to revisit that and see what we can come up with. So I support it.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm bringing this in line anyways with the other neighboring municipalities and so forth. City of Nanaimo, Town of Qualicum Beach have recently adopted their own bylaw to fees and charges, and we're hoping to follow through on a similar vein to what they've already proposed, and it's time to put this in place, in my opinion. Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there is the mechanism that it has to go on the machine? Like we have to, right now they just plug in, they don't have any meter or anything on them?
Yes, the mechanism has already been biased. CAO Kaler, are you familiar with that new mechanism, the charging app? I know Mr. Russell would probably know.
I believe Mr. Russell has joined us, so I will defer to him as the EV expert.
Yeah, Mr. Russell, if you could comment on what the charging mechanism looks like to the electric EV chargers.
Certainly, if I may, Mayor, through to council. Both of the chargers have apps, basically a web portal that can be gone into and adjusted to charge by hour, for example.
Okay.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Councillor
Yes,
Martin. Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So I was wondering, Mayor, if the staff needs direction on how to go about charging these. Sorry about the pun, but how do we charge the residents when they use these chargers? I personally do not like the idea of charging by the minute. I think what BC Hydro does is they have by the energy usage for the kilowatt hour that the vehicle utilizes. And once it's been fully charged, they charge an idling fee by the minute. So I don't know if staff needs direction on what to look for in terms of how we charge the users. But in my opinion, I think that's the most appropriate way to go forward. We could just use the BC Hydro rates, and whenever they change, the city could just automatically adapt to those rates. So we don't have to look at other options.
Mr. Russell has a comment he can make to answer or your comment on your comment. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor and Councillor Gore, that is always the ideal approach. One of the complexities is that you actually have to run it by Measurement Canada to approve the actual equipment to be able to charge on a per kilowatt basis. And so we would have to explore whether our devices are able to be appropriately certified as such. So that is why you see the most level 2 chargers and even a number of the level 3 chargers primarily using time as the charging mechanism. But that being said, if it's able to be achieved, charging by the kilowatt hour is always the better approach. But there is some regulatory mechanics that would need to be sorted through to that. So we may have to report back on that to get some of those details.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Fraz.
Thank you. Through to, I guess, our RDN reps, through our mayor. They had implemented some stations out in places. I think last I recall, they were looking at areas like Oceanside Place. There was like 7 spots around. Curious if they have those stations up and running, if they charge for charging as well. And part of the reason for my question here is I'd like to see that our rates are perhaps in line with what's going on regionally to be on the same level. I wouldn't want us to be the cheapest where then people are flooding our spots to try to save costs versus going somewhere else, and vice versa. I wouldn't want it to see us displacing and putting somewhere else. So if we could try to aim to be regionally at the same level so that it, as well too, people don't always realize when they're in Parksville proper or in the RDN, our boundaries are pretty, cut out in odd ways. So that would just be my request, that we try to look at parity there. Thank you.
Right. And you're correct, Councillor Fraz anyways, and it would be best if we had the ideal situation is we're all at exactly the same rate. And so when I discussed this with the CAO when I was preparing this resolution here, I actually had a copy of the town of Qualicum Beach that has theirs, as well as the city of Nanaimo, which are matching already. And so we said that we wanted to be the same. We didn't want to be higher. We didn't want to be lower. For it is a competition basis, but I'm sure our staff will check into all of the neighboring. As far as the RDN, perhaps Councillor Grens, have you seen any charging stations at the Oceanside Place or the transit station too? RDN, yeah.
Yeah, Oceanside Place does charge for their charging.
They do
They
charge?
charge for the charging.
They
Yes.
charge for charging at
Yes.
Oceanside Place. Okay, thank you. So the idea that staff, I see a nodding of agreement, that is the goal that we're going to achieve, to be the same. Thank you. Any further? Oh, Councillor Grants.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts on this, and maybe a question through to staff is when this was discussed not that long ago, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, staff at that time said that it may not be worth the effort to do, or just like the cost benefit is just not there. I think so. I might just get staff's thoughts on that now, if there are any changes to the thinking or if I'm misinterpreting the previous thoughts.
I'll jump in first, if I may, through the mayor, and then Blaine can add in. But I believe one of the concerns we had was around the reliability of our charging stations. And so if we are charging somebody a fee, they expect a better level of service. And at that time, we had fewer stations and they were kind of on the fritz every now and then. But I believe we have newer stations now, like definitely a couple of ones that have been added since. And what I understand, and I'll look to Blaine for this, is that the portal and the web support is enhanced. So it shouldn't be as much of a challenge as it was a few years back.
I agree with Kiva. I would add though that we actually have 2 different suppliers. So 2 of our stations, actually 3 of the stations that the city has, one in the community park and 2 of them on the access behind City Hall, are both from around 2012. And so at some point, those units probably in the fairly near future will actually be slated for replacement. The 2 other units that are between the library and the PCC, those are quite new. Those were part of the RDN, and I forget the name of the EV folks, but it was part of a grant project. And those ones have a newer portal. There are a few complexities though with having 2 suppliers, and we will report back. We'll provide assistance with a follow-up when we bring the fee bylaw back.
Thank you. Follow up, Councillor Grants.
Thank you. Yeah, just so some assorted thoughts on this, I guess, is one is that would be one of my points as well, is that if we're starting to charge for them, then the expectations are going to go up in terms of service level. And also as regards maybe replacing the stations down the road as well, then we are more sort of obligated, I'd say, in a sense to look at that and making sure that we're providing this as a paid service. I'm supportive of the motion. But a few considerations is one is the with regard to Councillor Gore's comments, even if we are charging per minute as opposed to per kilowatt hour, the speed of the charging is half when there are two cars on the same charger. So you're actually getting kind of like parking for the same price and half the power. So that's a possible consideration. In terms of the pricing levels, what I've seen the regional district, actually, sorry, not the regional, Nanaimo and Qualicum Beach do, seems to me to be a reasonable amount. Although I'm not necessarily opposed to doing a different or lower amount because there's a benefit to having people charge in Parksville, given where their place is, that people are, especially the ones near downtown, people may come for dinner here and charge their car, and then that does benefit local businesses as well. So that's something to throw in the mix. I think if you're considering, oh, do we go to Qualicum Beach for dinner or do we go to Parksville for dinner? When you're charging and a tourist and you look at those things, maybe it's just a consideration. Final item is, I guess, in terms of the priority for staff on this, given the staff's workload, maybe not a huge priority to my mind, especially since we can look at what's happening with Qualicum Beach and Nanaimo and see how that's all working out. Maybe it gives us a time to learn from anything they're learning as we do our report on that.
Well, yes, I'm not in favor of that, quite frankly. I'm not in favor of the city of Parksville taxpayers subsidizing all those with the EVs. I'm the one that signs the checks every month to BC Hydro, and I'm rather surprised at actually how much the EV meters are actually running through that. It's considerable. So those fees are paid by the rest of the city Parksville taxpayers. And I'm not in favor of that, quite frankly. So the sooner we can implement this, the better, in my mind. Councillor Frass.
Thank you. Through the mayor to council. I think that's actually an interesting idea, though, regarding the economic benefit of having different fees. And it might be something for the PDBA perhaps to look at and go, hey, this is a draw. We can bring in chargers and then they could choose to even have them free if they want, because it could be a benefit for them to draw people right in the downtown. Maybe there's good spots where they could put them up, just as a spitballing idea, but I think that's interesting. I hadn't considered the economic spinoff like that.
Yeah. So if PDBA could supply their own chargers and something like that. Yeah, that might be what's on. Hey, go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. So through you to Mr. Russell, when we set the price, I'm guessing the staff will consider not just cost recovery for the hydro charges, but also the operations and maintenance within that. And also, you previously mentioned, we will be looking at perhaps grants to install these new units as and when needed, correct?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Gore, all of the above.
Yeah, all of the above. Thank you, Ms. Russell. Oh, is that guy?
Yeah, maybe just one thing
I
to
thought
what
you were
Councillor
pointing
Gore
to
said.
me.
Yeah. So the rate,
Go ahead.
yeah, thank you. Through you to council, the rate that the Qualicum Beach does is, if I'm doing the math right, and it's at the faster speed, is roughly twice what it would cost for BC Hydro, like the BC Hydro per kilowatt, per residential pricing. So, and then when they go to the next tier, it's like 6 times what the raw energy would cost. So presumably in there's lots of room for asset management as well.
Right. Building a reserve, our favorite. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Any other notices of motion for upcoming meetings? 0. Liaison reports. We will now move into liaison reports. Go ahead. First up is Councillor Martin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems this town is full of music. I don't know what it is. It's quite exciting. The museum has been having every Thursday this month, different musicians here. And last Thursday, they had close to 200 people out. Very great response. And there'll be one, and there's a notice here. There are different kinds of musicians. It's on their website. So that's what the museum's doing this year. I just wanted to add into this quickly about Mabry, and I'm on the liaison. Yesterday I was at a function and Mary was there, Councillor Beal. It's an amazing function, and she's going to be talking about it more extensively at the MAC. And so I wanted to mention that to do with Mabry and what's happening with that. Also, PDBA, which is they're doing a Friday night at the memorial dinner. Food trucks and music. They had 75 people out last Friday. People are really interested in music. She said, that is it. Maybe not eating. So it just seems like this is happening here in our town. So I just wanted to pass that on. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Martin. I can just see that I've got, dinner laid out for, there's the market Tuesday night, and then there's music there, and then there's food trucks Friday, and then there's concert. I mean, good heavens, this place, there's so much going on. It's really exciting. Anyway, I'd like to start out with Access Oceanside Association. I was very, very pleased to take part in a little barbecue not too long ago with the members of that board, which is a really a fantastic group and so forward thinking and yet so pragmatic, and it's just great. So I again want to draw attention to an app that everyone should and could load onto their devices called Access Now. And what it does is it indicates on mapping whether or not a site is fully accessible, partially accessible, or not accessible. Now, these sites have been visited by members in our area, by members of Access Oceanside, and to determine how accessible they are. So there's already a number of places in Parksville that have been looked at. And people, you might think just offhand, oh, well, this will be good for people who have mobility challenges of some sort or another. But think again, if you're planning, booking a dinner reservation, if you're wanting to go somewhere and you may have a visitor or a family member or a friend who has some mobility issues, it's a really useful tool. I'm still embarrassed to recall booking a restaurant once, and my brother had in his wheelchair, and there were a lot of stairs, and I hadn't realized that ahead of time. I hadn't thought about it. So it's a wonderful tool, and they're going to be continuing to focus on visiting businesses in our area and expanding throughout Oceanside so that people will have a more fulsome map of places and how accessible they are. I also will add that people will work with the owners to some degree to help them understand what they can do or what needs to be done to improve accessibility. Shifting to Beach Fest Society, I've recently attended 2 meetings with the Beach Fest Society, along with Councillor Gore, and one on my own. And they have met to go over every possible detail regarding the sand sculpting competition, but keeping in mind that since the site will be new to the society this year, they are also prepared for a bit of a learning curve. So hopefully everything will go smoothly. They're really looking forward to using this new site, and with the approved access off of the gravel parking lot, which really should make this very, very smooth, going right through across to the paved parking area across closest to the beach. And there are a number of accessible spots right nearby. And time again, many compliments were voiced to working with our parks manager, Graham Giddon, for their assistance, his assistance with working out the details. So I hope our staff will pass that along. There is an opening event July 11th, but the public opening is July 14th. And I believe that council members have received an invitation or may receive an invitation. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. And this weekend, there's an opening concert at the outdoor theater. I'll be there. Oceanside Community Arts Council, as Councillor Martin mentioned, there was an event, an opening reception just yesterday for Squalique. And now Squalique is a combined Qualicum First Nations and Snanaus First Nation word. So it's a brand new word, which means Mount Arrowsmith. And this summer art installation is a result of a 2-year collaboration with the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region and the Macmillan Arts Center. The Biosphere Region is celebrating a 25th anniversary. For those of you who were around when it started, it's just amazing to think that it's 25 years. And it's the 10th anniversary of the 10 Amazing Places. So with the result of this collaboration is that there have been 38 artists working in a variety of media. We're talking sculpture, weaving, painting, woodwork, and beyond, glass. And they have produced works for each of the 10 amazing places. And the 10 amazing places, if you will recall, were selected, chosen by community members. So think Cathedral Grove, our very own community park, Top Bridge, and many other places, Notch Hill, and so on. So each one of these places has artwork by 38 artists with their interpretation and perspective on these places. It's an amazing exhibit. It runs through the summer. It's also a fundraiser for the MAC. Admission is by donation, and they have a tap machine at the entrance for everyone's convenience. But also a separate, oh, did I lose it? No, here we go. A separate amazing event will be taking place in our downtown area for July 19th. The amazing art race, and artists will be painting plein air outdoors in various locations and also driven about in vintage cars. So it should be a very special and fun event. So look for the posters and come downtown and see how this develops. And if anyone has any questions, I'm here.
You have some brochures too. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councilor Martin
Lots
and
of
Councilor Beale.
information about the exhibit at the MAC. It's really wonderful.
Thank you, Councilor Beale and Councilor Martin. I was just a clarification on the Beach Fest dates here. I have the opening festivities on this Friday, July 11th. Yeah, okay. Okay. The public opening for Washington.
Well,
This is the opening festivities. Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah. So the public is welcome to the opening festivities at 2 p.m. at the Parksville Community Park this Friday, July 11th. And I want to say also my appreciation for the Parksville staff for getting the new location all set up and also having some excess logs placed, repurposed, and put in the area of the volleyball courts that has provided very natural seating, not what better types of seating to have at a beach volleyball venue. And some of the logs were put in there. I was at down there weekend past, and it was filled with the participants were actually using the logs anyways. And it just looked fantastic. It's like, wow, this is just such great utilization of the materials that were being used in the location for the Beach Fest part. I also wanted to give a huge thank you and a note of appreciation to the City of Parksville staff regarding the Canada July 1st, Canada Day, July 1st celebrations, beginning with the parade in the morning and as well as the festivities in the community park thereafter. It was filled with so many people and so many great comments. I was down there for a great portion of the day and I couldn't walk 10 feet without someone coming up and saying, wow, great job. Your staff have done over and above, and the people that were there, visitors and were recognizing who we were just the comments were blown me away. And it's something that came up, which was absolutely an amazing venue this year, was a bike valet in the park, in the tennis courts, to keep the bike safe. And it had so many people, and I'm getting emails and phone calls saying, so nice that they were able to know that their bikes were safe. And I was blown away by the amount of people that came to the park in bikes. And so this just opens up a whole new, perhaps easing the burden of the parking situation we run into down there. It's always so many cars, and recognizing that if people ride their bikes down there, it's going to take a lot of that pressure off. And I mean, what a great way to go to the park on your bike. And the weather was great as well. Thank you for that. So, but at the same time, that was a great addition to it. The food trucks were amazing. The new gathering place really got its grand opening this July 1st. And it performed well, folks. I mean, I cannot believe it. The new washrooms and everything. Everyone, right down to the people going down to saying, oh, I never noticed the labyrinth down there, and said, yeah, it's brand new labyrinth, new artwork around the labyrinth. And it was just like, yeah, you know, it just says there's so much happening in this park. So my thank you to everyone. Thank you to our visitors for visiting Parksville at the same time, but thank you to our staff and all the volunteers and all the organizations that pulled together to make this happen. I detailed in a letter to council regarding the amount of people that were involved. It was mind-blowing. A lot of the staff were there anyways to make sure that it was safe, and it was a safe venue, and that was our number one goal: safe to have a joyous time. So so please, thank you all to staff and everyone else involved in that great event. And that is a great note I'd like to end on. Adjournment. Could I have a mover or a seconder? No, you don't get any more. No, you used up your time. You have a token? Yeah, exit speaking token. Go ahead, Councilor Beal.
Sorry, thank you. I do want to thank you for clarifying. I think what I said could have been a bit confusing regarding Beach Fest. I wanted to explain that the sand sculpting official opening is the 14th, I believe. But absolutely, Beach Fest activities start on the 11th. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
They're going to be pounding that sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they do with these forums. It's amazing. In their new location. Now, a mover seconder for adjournment, please. Moved by Councilor Grenz, second by Councilor Martin. All those in favor? Thank you. Passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councilor Gore.